Yes, I'll start really by saying that to understand Lenin's concept of the Revolutionary Party, you have to start from two statements by Karl Marx. The first statement of Marx was the emancipation of the working class is the act of the working class. The second statement is the prevailing idea in every society are the ideas of the ruling class. Now those two statements are contradictory. They're contradictory, but the contradiction is not in Marx's head. The contradiction exists in reality. If the emancipation of the working class is the act of the working class, and that's all, I'll tell you straight, we should sit with folded arms and smile. The working class will emancipate itself. What are you bloody worried about it? You can go to sleep. And one day the socialist revolution will come and knock on my door and say, Comrade Tony Cliff, would you like socialism? I say, not tonight, I'm watching the football. But if you come tomorrow, you are welcome. If the emancipation of the working class is actually working class, life is absolutely easy. If the prevailing idea in every society is the ideas of the ruling class, then I'll tell you straight what you do. You lie on the bed, hide yourself underneath a blanket, and you cry. You can do nothing about it. The prevailing idea in every society are the ideas of the ruling class. The working class accept the ideas of the ruling class. What can you do about it? The problem is that both statements are correct. Both statements are correct. And because of that, this contradiction exists, first of all, among workers and workers, and exists also in the head of the individual worker. I'll tell you what I mean by that. What is a strike? What is a picket line? A picket line is not a group of workers standing on a picket line preventing the capitalists from working. The capitalists never worked in their life. They will not start working during a strike. It is one group of workers trying to prevent another group of workers from crossing the picket line. It is always the class struggle reflects itself in a conflict between workers and workers. Again, if this contradiction exists, to be honest with you, we don't need a revolution. What the hell do you need a revolution? Workers are the millions, the hundreds and thousands of millions. The capitalists are a tiny minority. If we are united, what do you need a revolution? Let's spit at the capitalists at the same time and we'll flood them to the Atlantic. The danger is, of course, we will spit at one another, instead of spitting at the capitalists. Therefore, we don't need a revolution if the working class is not influenced by capitalist ideas. Again, what the hell do you need the dictatorship of proletariat? What do you need? A workers' government that uses really extreme weapons to fight against the counter-revolutionary. If all the workers are united in opposition to the capitalists, what do you need the dictatorship of proletariat? The truth of the matter, this contradiction exists among the workers. Therefore, when Trotsky, if you read his autobiography, My Life, he describes a small group of workers, and he says, in this small group of workers, you find one of them is ready to fight. He is absolutely convinced he's a really militant, activist, revolutionary. One of them is born scab. He's against any fight, he takes all reactionary ideas, etc. And then group in the middle that vacillates and they don't know who to join, the first or the second. The two poles of attraction. And really in the act of the class struggle, the key problem is always the vanguard has to attract the non-vanguard. A vanguard has to relate to people that don't agree with the vanguard, right? Or to some extent don't agree with the vanguard. And this is the reason why the party comes to organizing the most advanced section of the class. But that's not all. Even the vanguard, the most advanced workers, can have split consciousness. Can have, on something, they have a very good attitude. At the same time, the same people have reactionary attitude on other issues. I mean, that's so common to find out wage militants. Really workers that when they come to the boss, they will not give way. When they are very confident to fight the boss, at the same time, you'll find a racist rubbish comes from their mouth. It is not true that if a worker says A, he says Z. He can say A and say minus Z. Exactly the opposite position on other issues. Therefore, the Revolutionary Party is not only organized the advanced section of the class, but fights against the weaknesses in the advanced section of the class. It has polemicize and argue all the time. It is not true that once you belong to the party, my good God, you have got the bloody card to arrive at paradise. Now, once you join the party, then you know that from now on you have to bloody fight. And you fight not only against people outside the party, you have to fight against people inside the party, the people around the party, because they can have wrong ideas. Let's be clear about that also. A few other points to make the thing clear. So what is the attitude of the Revolutionary Party, the advanced section of the class, organized together, etc., to other sections of the class? What's the attitude? Now there are three attitudes you can have. You can have the attitude of simply sectarian attitude, you can have opportunist attitude, and you can have revolutionary attitude. I'll tell you to make what I mean by that. Let's assume you go to the picket line. And on the picket line, a worker stands on the picket line and makes racist comment. You can be a sectarian and say quite simply, I'm not standing with this swine on the picket line. He's racist, I'm not standing with him on the picket line. I'm going home. Now, if the emancipation of the working class is the act of the working class, you have to take sides and you are not leaving the picket line. Even if this chap next to you makes racist comment, and for heaven's sake, let's be absolutely clear. It is not true that everybody on the picket line agrees with you on everything. That's not true. Sectarianism, you go away from it. Opportunism is when this chap makes racist comment, you pretend you didn't hear it, and you say, what do you think about the weather? Do you think it will be rainy tomorrow? That's opportunism. I'm not saying you repeat his argument. No, nobody will repeat this argument. But you avoid the argument. If this chap simply supports a strike, and at the same time he thinks that Tony Blair is all right, because he'll improve very much things after the elections, there'll be a nice government with progressive, etc. You can avoid the question of Blair. Let's not discuss Blair. Let's discuss the boss. Let's discuss the wages. Let's discuss... No, that's opportunism. The one case is sectarianism, the other case is opportunism. The revolutionary attitude is quite simply, because the prevailing idea is our society, the idea of the ruling class, you argue against him. The prevailing idea in this case, racism, let's say, this example. At the same time, the emancipation of the working class is the act of the working class. You don't avoid being on the picket line. If you convince the person that stands next to you against racism, excellent. If you don't convince, still, when it comes, the scab lorry comes, you close arms with him to stop the scab lorry. You don't put conditions. On the picket line, you must be anti-Tory. Certainly, you don't put conditions on the picket line, you must be anti-Blair. No condition, no ultimatum, no nothing.